All right, pretty good, pretty good. It never fails. As soon as I kind of get my stuff moving in, the cats just start butting heads, meowing at each other. They're having a bad time. But that just means that they need to be fed. So I'm gonna go grab their food. I'm gonna get my tea going. You might ask yourself, why don't you do this before you go live? And the answer to that question is so. Anyway, I'm gonna go do that now to make sure that everything's cool, and then I'll get going. You got some food. You're doing good. I gotta wash off the other plate. Good to go. I know. I'm right on top of it. You don't have to give me a single meow. I got it. The job is getting done. Trust me. Yeah, I know. Thank you. It's about time you got a rhythm. Yeah, I mean. Okay, okay, come on. So, you eat over here. Jotaro. Come on. You can eat over here. Come on. Come on, slow boy. There you go. Come on. Good job. Don't look betrayed. Don't look like. Go, eat. Come on. What you want headbutts? You want pets? You want to eat? I'm here. I'm not going anywhere. Go ahead. You're being very shy about this. Oh, you're being such a punk. All right, I'm gonna go put my tea on, my water to get boiling. Tea bag ready, sugar, spoon, cup. Water's on its way. Cats are fed. So the only thing I gotta do now is collect my tea, and I should be ready for that. In the meantime, I could basically get started. I could just get going right now. Yesterday, this is the worst part. Whenever I open this up, I got two keyboards. One here because I like having the detached keyboard over, and then I have another one for this whole thing. And so often I want to do something or interact with this whole thing over here, but I'm using this keyboard. You see what happens there? I don't have to, detail the whole thing, which is unusual for me because usually I just go all the way in on over explaining things. But at the moment, I want to kind of get back to writing because I know what I'm doing now. It's going to be actually a pretty easy night for me, but I'm not exactly sure how long I'm going to be writing. This is not even the right mouse. Oh, the things I do. Wait. So it is attached though. Ah, there we go. Okay. Oh, you got a new rattle to you. Uh-oh. I'm gonna have to take this apart, see what that rattling is later. You're not gonna distract me. But as I was saying, when I finally open up, because this is on even when it's like closed for some reason. I definitely set it that way at some point. Probably play like a game and just leave it on the back. You know what it is? RimWorld.
That freaking game where you could just like leave it on, go about your business, leave it on the lowest speed, and everything's gonna be okay for a little while. But I digress. I type so often incorrectly on this, so that by the time I get to actually writing my story, I open it up, I look in, and I see all the times that I messed up. So right now I got. Oh, holy crap! I must have held down the space bar for a real long time. All right, we're good with that. Then I entered various passwords in there. That was a mistake. And my stream title. Okay, now we're back to just what I want. I can get going. Yesterday was about a backstory on a character. I expected to kind of write it as just a character profile sheet. I had a couple ideas, and I was like, all right, this is the beats of it that I want. But as I started writing, I started looking over it, and I'm like, I just wrote a story. I just wrote something that I could copy and paste, put it right in there when I find a good spot for it, make a good spot for it, and I was very pleased with that. I got about a page and a half written. It's a little deceptive, as I may have mentioned before, because I use very small font and I write in bricks, so I don't separate when people are talking. It's not friendly for just book form yet, but for just getting everything on the page, about a page and a half. I'm going to be honest with that one for what I'm looking at. Expand it to like maybe 1.5 Calibri, 12-point font or so. Then maybe give me about 3 pages, but for what I'm looking at, I'm just going to tell you a number, about 1.5. Then, so that's done. Then that got to a point where I started and finished it with a very tight little story that I could just implement into there. That's going to expand so great. It's going to at least triple. Actually, more than likely, it's going to be its entire own chapter. I like it that much. I like what I did with it. It just needs more. It just needs actual dialogue in it. It needs to go back and forth instead of just, these are the things that happen. But that being said, I did pull the card on my wife, and I said, this is the one time I actually wanted you to read something. It's going to be a big spoiler, but in the end, it's only a spoiler in terms of what a chapter is about. It's not going to be the full story or things like that. It's not showing you too many clues or hints, or I'm not alluding to anything. It's just explaining a certain area and a couple characters all in one neat little chapter. All right, sat down, read it. Now, one thing in particular is that I wrote a lot of details that are kind of like personal life details, like details about her kid and things like that, just behavioral stuff that I implemented into this. So that she's reading it, she's like, "This reminds me a lot of our," and I'm like, "I know, there's a reason for that." So she got to the end of the whole thing, and she's like, "I don't want to cry, but I'm about to." So she gathered herself up, and she's like, "I got really emotional about that, not just because of what you were writing, that that's our kid, a lot of the things that you were mentioning, but at the same time, she was like, that was really sweet. Like, it was bittersweet. Like, I liked everything about it. I really wish you didn't make me read that, because I wanted to read this in like final form, but it's fine." So I don't do that too often in 100 and however many pages I claim to have written so far. I think I've done that maybe once or twice, very early on, and then a couple months ago. But this was another situation where I was like, is this really like good? This is something I was doing while I was on stream. So my last stream, all the tippity taps led to this. And yeah, it's not done. Like, it just got to a point where it feels so fleshed out that I could just run with it. And describing things and just building the conversations and just getting it to where everything I've written isn't just TLDR. It is that chapter that I want it to be. But for it to evoke that kind of emotion from her, that's fantastic. Like, I was really humbled by that. I was really happy with that. And it just made me want to get back into it, get back going. Otherwise, but I'm putting an ice on that. I'm putting that on ice. I'm putting that on ice. I'm putting ice on that. Whatever. However you want to. However I just said it. My brain is not fizzling away from what I wanted to say. I'm back on track. So I'm putting that aside. That's a whole separate document from the main narrative, which I'm doing a lot of now. I don't want to write anything in the main story unless, as I'm reading it, there are just quick, tight things that I could just implement and worry about the ramifications later. Which I think 2 streams ago or so is what I was talking about a lot of this is what I'm going to do going forward. So I'm going to organize. Anytime I add new things, it's going to be over here. And then I was full of crap. I lied. Just every single moment I was talking about getting things organized, because at that point, I was thinking that I would write a lot more just world details, just what things look like, how it works, and how it functions. How people are in my story. There's no glass. I'm not using that as a function anywhere in the world whatsoever. Glass is just not going to be a thing. I did that for one because there's going to be characters walking around that are very, very poor. They just walk around no shoes or just very little like foot attire or anything like that, or just basically things on the minimum. And the idea of like someone getting into a fight and breaking glass meant that I'm gonna have to worry about everyone having either cuts all over their feet or just yada yadaing it and just having it as a detail that doesn't cohesively match the story. So I don't want to do that. That's that second thing I definitely don't want to do. The first thing I'm looking at like I don't know about you either. So what I wanted to do is kind of pin things down. Just as I add things, make sure that I have a separate document that says this is where it's going, this is why it's going there, yada yada yada. So I can look at this document instead of running into it as I'm reading, so I can keep things in order. That didn't work out because as I started along that process, I just got so wrapped up in just the two big things that I realized I hadn't written anywhere yet. These are all things that if I just ended my time here on Earth would never be known whatsoever because I didn't write it down. Dummy me. So here I am here at that time yesterday. Decided, you know what? Let me just write two different documents of just this is this idea that I'm running with. You'll know more about it. Like 4 words on the page about this is the backstory about this character. This is the backstory about this 7, 8, whatever. That was the intention, but it didn't work out that way. As I just kept looking at it, I was like, well, there's other things I want to write down that I hope I don't forget as I'm working on other things that might take a long time. Let me just, and then I just kept going and going and going. So all of yesterday's stream was dedicated to that page and a half or so that I got down, which I'm very happy about. It's going to expand greatly when I decide where I want it and where I want it to kind of go. And see, the problem is when I write entirely new things like this, which is why I was kind of slapping myself on the wrist, is that if I write it independently, it means that I'm going to have to find a place for it. Which means that as soon as I do stick it in with all the details I just crammed into this new thing, I need to go backwards and forwards to make sure that absolutely everything on both ends of it makes sense. If it doesn't do that, then it's going to be a big pain. Right now, I'm still under 200 pages. I feel like I can be a little bit fast and loose when I'm doing that, but the point in time where I can't do that anymore is it's coming. It's on its way. The rumblings happen. So I kind of really wanted to buckle down with what I was saying, but when I got into this, I just got so drawn and wrapped up in it. And now that's to the side, and I've given in. I've decided there's this other thing that I haven't written down that I do definitely need, because this one, unlike the other one, which I can identify as perhaps isolated by its own chapter, this is just something that's completely woven through the entire narrative up until a certain point. Because tricksy as I am, the whole story that you're being introduced to isn't what I, as the author, would consider the grand story that I want to tell. The story that I keep saying, I've been thinking about the story for the last 10 years, I haven't written down, this is my chance. None of that has happened. In 180 whatever pages, it hasn't come anywhere near, and I could see that not even entering into my story for over 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 pages because of the fact that everything I'm doing is setting the groundworks for things that are very likable. They're very entertaining on their own. I don't want the main story that I have to be the thing that's interesting to people. I don't want, season 1 of, Boruto to be like, well, there's this really interesting, I'm not blaming Boruto. That's tons of anime that goes back all the way. Record of Lodoss War literally took an episode. I'm sorry. I gotta reel it back. My point is that there's a lot of media out there that will say, hey, look, this is the interesting thing. Now let's go back in time, lead us up into there, and hopefully you're hooked by then, and then we can go forward. I understand why they do that, especially when it comes to the visual media, when it comes to animation and stuff. That is definitely something that they'll use in order to say, hey, look, if we show interest in this, then we have the accountability and the money and the interest to kind of make more and get stronger, show more interest in it. Otherwise, maybe we'll just wrap up season 1 and may not get a season 2. You know what I mean? So that whole media and medium, rather, is very different than what I'm doing. So when I talk about stuff like that, especially going forward, don't ever take it to mean like I'm better than they are at any point in time, because I would never believe that. The fact is that I am here isolated with my own world that I can shape however I want. It's you with your own Minecraft to create an easy parallel. But once it's kind of interacting with other people, then you gotta understand that that takes a lot more work in a different way. Things that involve music and mixed media and things like that. There are so many people that need to be involved with that it's really like to do it well. It comes off like a song. Like, everyone needs to be very harmonious in what they're doing. Otherwise, the end result is going to feel fractured. It's not going to feel like the things that someone really put passion and care into. A great example of that from my anime heads is a Record of Lodoss War. When you watch that anime, especially if you watch many anime, or if you've never seen anime at all, it is that kind of like a stone for me, that pillar of animated work that says anyone watching that, even if they aren't familiar with what's happening in it, or the motifs or the different the things in the style of anime, they can look at it and say, wow, someone really must have busted their ass to make this work. Like this looks beautiful. Everything that's happening, like, it may feel dated nowadays, but at the same time, it still feels like there was a lot of love, a lot of care, a lot of passion put into that. And it shows through in every single scene. But I believe that was an OVA, even though they had a TV show. I'm not going to get into that. And so, when you say, oh, they had a TV show version, that it was like a spin-off or an extension of it, and it just wasn't really as good, you got to understand that, made for TV versus made in isolation is completely different. And so, I always hate to seem as though I'm coming off as if I'm hoity-toity, or I'm saying like, oh, well, they do it this way, and I wouldn't have chosen that way. Like, no, not at all. In the end, like, if this ever becomes some popular thing that more than me and my wife enjoy, I will be very acquiesceable to a lot of things. For one, I feel like I've already set the groundwork to be very pliable when it comes to any other form of medium. My wife looked at me and she's like, you she's like, you haven't described a single character. And I'm like, yeah, I know. Outside of their age and maybe their height, I haven't said anything about it. Eye color, hair color, skin color, nothing whatsoever. You won't find it anywhere. But as much as she started off being like, I like knowing what the characters look like. I know your reasons for not wanting to do that. You want other people to just fill it in, no matter who they are, where they are. They can decide for themselves what the characters look like. It's the personalities that will drive them. I get that, but I like when you do that. I was like, just thank you for that feedback. And then by the time she got to the end, it was a non-issue. It was just something where she was like, I like them. I have strong feelings about them. There's things I want to have happen to them or not happen to them. And this is all while I haven't even mentioned what color eyes they have. You know what I mean? So, unless it's something that's very unique and specific. I know. I'm like almost 20 minutes in and I haven't written a single thing. This is what it is. This is how I'm doing it. I watched these videos back like 3 or 4 times, which might be explained why I have 3 or 4 views on my YouTube versions of these. So it's all me. Don't worry about it. I'm not getting popular yet, if ever. So, and just hearing it back, just hearing my musings, it gets me kind of working again in the mindset of, even if I walk away from writing for a little while, if I pop on one of these streams, I kind of just start thinking about it again. I'm right in front of myself and I'm like, I'd have nothing to nitpick. There's no like, I do this black and white thing because of the fact that it's easy. I don't want time taken away from this, what's happening right now. Me sitting here, me talking, me musing away, me spending time in complete silence, just writing. I forgot about my tea, by the way. I'll get to that. But yeah, like I see myself working in that capacity, and I'm like, I should get back to work, or just something will strike my memory. And so me here doing this whole format is kind of the point for me. So that's why it's kind of like I'm always laughing and joking, and it might seem like I'm being sarcastic or self-hating or whatever it is, being like, oh well, if this ever gets popular or anything like that. It's just because right now I'm not really thinking that. Like that, the scope of all that hasn't. That's nothing. I just love the story that I have to tell, and I'm very interested in telling it. And so if anyone along the way wants to know about it or it interests them, and at some point it could be exciting for someone, I think that's also cool. That's another driving factor is, any kind of thing that I could do to just make someone else think, oh, that's a cool thing. That's something that I introduced myself to that I don't regret doing. Along the way, it's interesting from start to finish. I'm getting all weird and sentimental. Those are my hopes for things. But anyway, so as I'm doing right now, that first character sheet that turned into a whole chapter in and of itself is done with. Right now, I'm moving into another character that I will not disclose, and just writing my ass off for the rest of the time. Hopefully, aside from just me making little sounds and maybe just out loud musing upon what I have written in a very nondescript, yada yada, something something way. That's probably what you're going to be looking at for a lot of the rest of this. So I do like loading this up in the front, these videos with a lot of talking, a lot of explanation of why I do the things I do, and why, I could just say, I understand why some people like things in color. They like looking at a video when it's in full color and they see the depth of it. But, I'm trying to be an author. And for me, the most important thing is just the black and white on the page. Or for me, the black and sepia, because I get intense migraines from bright light sources. So, this guy's in a big light here and a light here and a light here. Yeah, I know. I pay the price for it, and I try not to rag on it. But if you ever see me like cut early, I try not to make a big deal, but I'm probably like just blaring in my head. What was I talking about? Whenever I get into like headache stuff, I get very, very distracted. Oh, yeah, just talking a bunch in the beginning of these videos, because the rest of it is just going to be pseudo ASMR, me just typing away, and I'm hoping in those moments I can make this kind of as relaxing as possible. And I think that things like being in full color and just having 60 frames per second or anything like that, I think that might just take away from the point of what I'm doing. Like, I'm just trying to make this a very retrospective, calm, almost meditative, if I can play my cards right, kind of show, stream, event, whatever you want to call it. So anyway, I'm going to go grab my tea. The cats have eaten, and I expect that's going to be about it. I got the one boy, Jojo. That's my boy. That's my boy. I will tell you a story about him, because again, I do feel somewhat bad about the fact that a lot of the rest of this stream or show or whatever is going to be just... I just open up so many things. I didn't mean to do that. Have I thrown this on the floor too many times and now you're like stuck and not working? Look, I'm fine with diversity. I'm fine with dealing with like, I don't have all my keys. Look, there's, I think, a shift key and the close bracket. I don't freaking use those things. Like, if I ever need a closed bracket, I'll go online and do a search for closed bracket, and then it'll come up and I'll copy and paste it in, and that'll be the one time per like 3 months that I ever need to use a closed bracket. Parentheses for the win, if you're not, all about that, and you're like, oh, you know what, I am a bracket person. I think parentheses when you're doing works is a little bit, cliche. Okay, you know what? We can meet out back. We can have a good scrap. We can get down to it, and when it's all done, no matter who won, no matter who lost, I'll make some food. We could have a good talk. We could watch some shows and stuff like that, and we can have a good time after that. But you're wrong. Your opinion is wrong, and the way I'm doing things is absolutely right. For me. For you, do whatever you want. Anyway, I'm going to go make my tea. Be right back. Soup. Spry like a man half my age. Twice my age? I don't know. I'd have to Google what 80-year-olds look like. I can't say that I know. Alright, so I am going to try and do a heads up on the internet. I'm going to leave my tea to seep to the bottom of my murky soul. I'm just kidding. I'm not that guy. Despite the nail polish and stuff, I'm not that guy. More like punk, like just always on, walking around in the streets, and you go and you buy something from like a corner store, and the manager's is like, what the hell are you just get your shit and get out of here. You're not allowed to, your pants are so baggy you can fit all the stuff, you're a thief. And I'm like, oh, you're not, well, you're wrong about like the thief thing, but I get the presentation. I have like a very like spiky hair and one hand painted like usually like black and stuff. I'm wearing the puffed out Jenkos I still have one pair of. I'll wear it on stream one day if I get enough views and likes and all that good stuff. I'm not gonna beg for it, but I will carry myself and my popularity on the weight of my own charisma and showmanship. I'm kidding. I'm sorry. Don't get so. Anyway, what the hell was I talking about? When I watch this back, then I'll be like, yeah, I got you. But for right now, I went on a tangent and I got lost. So while my tea is seeping, oh yeah, that's what I was talking about. Just when I was younger, just walking around and people being like, "You need to go to church and see Jesus," and I'm like, "I go to church every Sunday with my grandma. She's like, an old Puerto Rican woman, and no one goes to church with her, and I'm not really like, I'm respectful of it, but I'm not gonna be there playing like, crossword puzzles or nothing. I was gonna say like a video game system, but crossword puzzles would be the best I would have at that time. Yeah, not that guy. I go there and I might sit next to my grandma and just pray and pray. Make sure my prayers are always that she's gonna live a long, happy life, and that's about it. That's no big deal. But I do go to church, and it was a part of my life for a little while. So people coming up to me, you punk! Like I had people stopping in the street. I went to go see my girl one time back in the day when I was going. Well, I don't want to get into it. Let's not. I don't have to go into the nitty-gritty. But either way, I was having a time walking around the street, listening to some music. It was like that's not true. I was listening to probably okay. If I could date myself, hold on. I'm gonna do the research. I'm not gonna half-ass this. I'm not gonna half-ass this. Alternative music from say 2003. 2004. What kind of music was around in 2004? Franz Ferdinand, American Modest Mouse. Okay, that explains things. I wasn't listening to anything from 2004. If anything, I was listening to I actually remember the exact song that I was listening to on the day that I was walking around on a Sunday. Some lady rolled up in a car and rolled down the windows, and she was like, have you been to church recently? But anyway, I'll get back to that story. I was listening to Machina, the Machines of God, I believe that's the title, from Smashing Pumpkins. I just bought it from one of the corner stores. They had it. And yeah, I guarantee you that's what I was listening to on CD. Anyway, I don't know why that's so strong in my memory of that's exactly what I was listening to. So anyway, it's in the sun. I'm having a good time. I actually did leave church from my grandmother, and meanwhile, my grandmother was like in another part of the state, so it would be me saving up my ducats, taking about a mile walk to the train station, hopping on the train, going down to Grand Central, taking a transfer, going down to Jersey City. That's from Trenton. I was going from Trenton to Jersey City, and then you go to Jersey City, and then you just walk around, hook up with my grandma, and you go to church, and yada yada. After that, then the whole thing in reverse. So, I put in a little work here to spend a lot of the time doing what I was doing. So I would roll down their windows and be like, "Have you gone to church, young man?" And I'd wearing all black, spiky hair and all that shit, Jenkos. And she stopped in the middle. It was a small neighborhood, to be fair. I think it was like Bristol, Pennsylvania. It's across the lake, river, whatever. It was in Bristol, walking around, and she stopped in the middle of the street. And there's no cars. It was Sunday. It was sleepy. I'm not going to be like, lady, you should pull over because this is a little damn. I was like, all right, if you're going to yell at me in the middle of the street and talk about Jesus, then we're going to have a goddamn conversation about Jesus. I'm apologizing for blasphemy. This is like 25 years later, so I think I deserve that one. At the time, though, I walk right up and I'm like, do you want to talk about the Lord? I just came from church. Have you gone to church yet today? What church do you go to? I haven't heard about that church. What kind of church is that? Is that Catholic? I'm Catholic. You're not Catholic. Christian. You're Christian? Christian is like the one where it's like, yeah, you follow the religion, but you're not like all the way. You're not drinking the Kool-Aid all the way. You know what I mean? You're not going to be like, all in. Not that I was, but at the same time, I understand its place in society. You find strength in it when you're alone, things like that. So I'm not like coming at this lady like I'm some kind of like jackass being like, I know about religion, but I'm just gonna shame you about it. No. I really did have like strong feelings about it. I'm going to Catholic school and stuff like that. Yo, what's up? I'm telling a story about where a lady stopped in the middle of the street to yell at me about church, but I was such like a good boy. Like at that point in my life especially, I was just such a good lad. Even though I looked like a punk ass motherfucker, but I really was. So I chose it as a learning lesson And in the middle of the goddamn street in Bristol, Pennsylvania, I had a conversation about Jesus with this lady. And by the time she left, it was like she was like my best friend. She was like, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I thought that maybe like I've never seen you around here before." And I'm like, "That's absolutely true. I haven't come around here too often. So the fact that you popped up and this is how you did it, I appreciate it." Because there are other places I was walking from, Trenton and whatnot. If someone wants to yell at you in the middle of the street, they're probably going to do it with some way to back it up if you get hostile. You know what I'm saying? So, this lady, I wasn't sweating it, but at the same time, you're like changing mindsets, changing perspectives. So, looking like a punk ass bitch, walking up to this lady and just actually being really sweet and kind and being like, "No, I am exactly who you thought I wasn't." So, there you go. Walk away from this being like, "Hey, maybe I shouldn't do this from now on." Because you never know. I could have killed this woman. I could have dragged her out of the cards in the American History X to her on the street because I look like that. And everyone I associated with my life in that time was kind of that person. Not nice people. And a lot of the not nice people I write about in my story, though fantasy, whatever it's going to be in the end, is very much based on parts of my life. So, at the same, I was like, this has been a good experience, but a bit of warning. Maybe next time, not do that. So, we got across to each other, I felt very well. Why did I tell that story? Because I talked about, something that happened and I like telling the story. So anyway, I'm going to get back to the whole book thing if you'd like, or you could be just like, "Hey, do tell me another story." Because when I talk about that stuff, it does give me more inspiration what I'm about to write. So it's not like it's ever a waste of time. But anyway, that is how it's going. How is it going with you? You can answer that or not if you want to. It doesn't matter. I'm about to go grab my tea, though. I was letting it steep because over the last couple streams, I know what the internet does. I don't want them to gang up on me and be like, "Oh, look at this guy over here. He, has sugar and a tea bag in, and then he takes the tea bag out and he squeezes it, and that makes it bitter. He ruins the whole thing. What an idiot, So I'm trying to like get ahead of those possible eventualities and fix myself. It's very Coldplay about it. So I will fix you, being me. And so I'm steeping my tea. I'm going to take that out, and I'm not going to squeeze it. I'm just going to throw that motherfucker out. Come back with a little bit of sugar, stir it, give it a couple minutes, and I'm going to get going with the tea. While that's happening, I'm going to get back to writing if you don't say anything. Otherwise, I'm going to take literally anything you say and probably turn it into another half an hour story. Thank you for the content. Meanwhile, my music hasn't even been on for the last 10 minutes. That's how wrapped up I was in my flashback. I really want to squeeze this tea bag. Oh my god, I almost did it too. Like the tea bag, I was pulling tea bag out and I was just like shaking it and my fingers were like squeezing. You want to. I can't. No. You're not in control. My brain is in control this time. Alright. 1 tablespoon of sugar. Don't worry, I will live forever. That's another story, but I'm not going to get into it. That's actually a really sentimental, cute story that I rely on in life. So people are going to have to be like, "Hey, tell that story," for me to go into it. That was really, really freaky. So I got up and no, it did spill. Never mind. I was like, I think maybe I washed it and then some drips hit me and it was a little bit warm, but I came very close to burning myself because of that maneuver. Don't worry about it. I've had worse. I was once handed a very, very hot container of ramen, which as soon as I grabbed it, not even a cool one too that I eat nowadays in my later life, which I might eat tonight, man. I might make some of that spicy what is it called? Nissin Black? Maybe, I don't know. I'll show the package before I start, get going with it. But yeah, I handed a bowl of 35-cent ramen, and it was just nuclear. All parts of it, and it just went right through my hands and just spilled right across my lap. I still got a scar that's about that. Hold on. I can't properly tell you. I was gonna say that big, but you might think it's the whole it was that big or so. Still got a scar on my side. I don't even want to lie about it too. Anyone could be "Oh, where'd you get that?" "I got shot." Someone came up on me, stabbed me in the side. I took it out and I looked at them and I licked the blood and then I was like, you better run. I could say shit like that, but that's not true. The truth is, it was from cheap ramen. Oops. Oh no. What is this? Is that a crack? Is that why you're leaking? Yo, there's a crack going from like here straight down to here. This cup literally might actually explode in my hands. Ah. No. Yo, imagine telling a story about like getting burned by really hot ramen as you get burned again by like hot tea. That's too much, man. That's like internet gold. I'm not looking to be that guy. Aren't you the guy that made $1 million because you got burned horribly like an idiot, and then you wrote like a really bad book? Wouldn't that be the freaking shit? Alright, we're good. You done, Mr. Coffee? There's no say. There is say. I could put a little gel epoxy on there and then get a little UV light on it. Nah, because I would never trust it. I would never be able to trust that cup again. I would look at that cup and I'd be like, you know what? You were close to giving it up at one point, and it could have killed me. So no, that cup is in the trash, and now it is forever replaced with the princess mug. Let it be known. Wait, but R.I.P. Mr. Coffee mug, because that mug has been like in the back seat of the car. It's been upstairs. It's been downstairs. It's been everywhere, obviously. So, you know, it lasted definitely a couple years. I'm sorry to see it go. This came from Big Lots. They don't sponsor me, but God, I wish they did. I worked for them back in the day. In Florida. Oh, man, I forget the road that it was on, but it was somewhere in Florida. Narrow that down. And I worked for a guy named Stuart. This guy spoke fluent Japanese because he had grown up in Japan, which was such a smack in the face. Because he said that growing up in Japan and just being in a military family and that whole thing, when he moved to America, the bank didn't just go over. So he's working on like businesses and stuff like that, and it was just there's a lot of bureaucracy with how the bank system allowed him to kind of go back and forth and such. So either way, his banking problems is not the issue. The issue is that at the time when I was working for him, like 25 years ago or so, I was big into anime, and it's like I know Japanese from anime, but I know a good amount of it. And so, you know, I would just speak phrases in Japanese, and he's like, you know what that means? Oh yeah, I'm like, yeah, I know what it means. I know what it means. Yeah, we would have like very short little palavers in Japanese and stuff, and things like that. It was cool. Now, Big Lots, actually, the function of me working there, on the other hand, was probably the most slave work for the least amount of money I've ever done in my entire life. I've never weighed more than like $1.15, and they add me doing stock, which I love because the being in the front retail stand at the register, and it was just painful because so many people you would not expect how many people have smacked me in the back of the head with a broom while they were waiting online. It got to a point, like, after I think the third time, it got to a point where someone was online with a broom, and I was like, I got my guard up. Like, I got to make sure this isn't going to happen again because I'm not all that smart. Every hit is just like, bloop, 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 you know, with intellect. So, yeah, that was a situation. I did not have a fan. And people said, like, the weirdest stuff to me, man. I remember a group of ladies was like, ooh, you got a thick black man voice. And I'm like, thank you. Because what else are you going to say? Like, you either take that compliment or things get weird. Like, you really just want the conversation to end at that point. So thank you is what's going to make it happen. Nothing else. So, shit like that. So I'm working for Big Lots. I'm in the back, and I'm picking up couches. And meanwhile, I'm like 22 or something, like full of piss and vinegar. So, you know, I'm just picking couches up. I'm like, the stock for the beds was fucking stupid because I was in charge of it, and I saw that they had the ability to have them upright, all the different sizes, and as the sizes of beds got bigger, I decided they should go higher because we had less of the massive beds and more of the smaller beds, so we could fit more by having the smaller beds on the bottom and the massive beds on the top. That was the pitch to the boss, which I love. Because this is the thing, like whenever I'm working for a company, like they get it. Like don't make me do some menial bullshit. Because if you let me do my own thing, things will go well, and it's gonna be 10 times better in the end. Like I will stay up, like just I will work like after I clocked out and come in early and stuff like that. Just get shit done then because I said I wanted to do it. And so as any manager would, $7.25 an hour, looking at me being like, let's go. This is the kid. He's gonna make it happen. Hey, do you want to? We have an inspection coming. You think that instead of in the back or doing stock or inventory, you think you could put on this like gas mask looking thing and nothing else, like just your regular clothes, and crawl underneath the rafters or the all the shelves and climb in the rafters? You think that maybe might want to take a couple days of just like cleaning all that out? And I was like, yeah, I do. That's exactly what I want, because you got the headphones on. I'm covered in filth in the middle. People shopping around me, and like they just go around me, dude. Like I got business I'm attending to. Just no one talked to me, and it was just like 3 or 4 days of me just in my own zone. Now, albeit suffice to say, like my lungs took a hit on that one, just constantly coughing up just black shit that was all up inside of me, and then just the amount of dead things I found under there that was disgusting. They were just sticky. They'd been under there for like a decade. It was gross, man. But yeah, I did it with a smile, because the alternative was wearing the smock, going out and getting shit in the, getting the carts, the yard. It's raining and shit. There's like hurricanes, and that was the thing at the time too. I remember I was in hurricane. I think Harvey was the name of it or something like that. Some motherfucker that was like the 3rd or 4th hurricane in the series of badass hurricanes, and I just decided that would be the time of my life that I would spend like on someone's couch, barely like making it. So all that's happening, I'm like skateboarding to work in like waist high water, because I call him up and I'm like, hey, I'm from Jersey, and I don't know if this is weird or not, but there's like water up to like the windows at the lower floor. Thankfully I was like on the 2nd floor. There's like water up to the windows, dude, and they're like, well, we're open, and if you don't come in, we're going to count it as an absence. And I'm like, yeah, I do have to pay rent, don't I? All right, I'll be right there. But at the very least, when I got there, they didn't give a shit. I was soaking wet. Thankfully, they gave me a good 5 minutes to go into the back room and put the hand dryer on. I got my socks, like, little by little, dried out through the day so I didn't catch pneumonia. It was a good time. I make it sound like shit, but actually, like, I was that guy. I loved doing that shit. Like, it was fun for me, and it was like auto money. I could do my own thing, listen to music, and just cash my paycheck. Why did I go into that whole story? I don't know. It's just fill time. But anyway, I think my tea is just about perfect. Sip on this, and get to typing. I've successfully filled about 45-ish minutes of time just having a palaver. Now I gotta get to work. After I take a break. That actually might not be wrong. I might drink a little tea, go use the restroom, figure out what the... You know what? No, we're doing this today. You don't think that I'm going to just pop you open, like, right on stream? I don't give a crap. Who do you think you are, I am? Get the hell out of here. Can't you open up more than that? And I'm not going to lie. I'm not a genius. So this may end with me just, like, throwing this mouse in the corner and be like, well, I fucked that up. But... hold on. For the moment... I heard something rattling in here. Is there any way I could, like, deal with that? It's not rattling anymore. Yo, one problem fixed. Alright. Now we need this to click. That does click. Ooh. That's not as clicky. So you might just be busted on that side and I have to get over it. That's cool. I can do that. As long as I know. Yeah, you got all your duty bits. So I think... just gonna stitch you right the hell back up. Plug it back in, obviously. Obviously. Alright, what we got? This is what it is. Is this working? This is working! Yo! I'm a freaking... Is it working? Well, no. It looks like maybe the little spring on the bottom of this side may have broken off or something. I guess I'll find it at some point in my life or just replace it. Nah, I can't do that. I'm not that guy. I'll keep it for the next like 100 years while it's still at least moving the mouse around. So anyway, but that is about it for the talking. Let's get to work. Am I confused? Are things frozen? I'm missing something? Look, it's an old computer. So if at sometimes I have to like hit the reset button or something like that, that's fine. It's cool. I didn't do anything yet. We're gonna do the go to sleep button. All right, we're good. Are you not plugged in? Whatever. It is restarting. I'll figure that out in a minute. You probably came in here from playing Overwatch and now you're like, wow, this guy's pretty cool. I would assume that because I don't have a bunch of people in my chat right now yelling at me. I think it might just be RIP for you, or is it? Yeah. Wait a minute. Wait. You are working. Is it just a computer then? Whatever. To be honest, I have like 3 or 4 other mice around the house. But 1 cup down and 1 mouse down. This is what we gotta do. He's a devil. You know how prepared I am for stuff like this? I already have my searching flashlight. Let's go. We're gonna find another mouse. Let's go. Yo, what a nerd. Yeah, who are you talking to? Already found a replacement mouse. Now, it may burst into flames. I gotta wash it off first, make sure it's alright. Drop down, but I keep loving them instead. My mama must have dropped me on my hand. He's a demon. He's a devil. The trick is I have a box that just has a bunch of miscellaneous like cords and old stuff in it that I refuse to throw out. And this is exactly why. Now, the only worry is that perhaps the cat's just like pissed all over it, corroded the inputs, and when I plug it in, it's going to explode in flames. We're willing to risk it. Dunk. Have you backed it up yet? I actually have not. Who goes to what now? Okay, there's that. There we go. My whooping cough was grim. Yup. It is working, right? It's working perfectly. All right, let's go. He drives me crazy, but it's cute. The double click is back. All right, we're good. Oh, stop popping crap up. Keep rolling around. And cutie. This is the softest little pat. Pat. What's up? Okay. Food pets. Oh, I could do that. I could take a very, very small break so that you can have some pets while you're eating. There you go, buddy. about a page and a half, just like the last one I did yesterday. And again, I figured it would go quick because much unlike yesterday, is that a term? Much unlike? This was less defined. It wasn't just something that takes place in one specific spot. This is something that is weaved a lot more through a large chunk of the beginning parts of the narrative. Sounds messy. I'm looking at it and it's all one big long chunk of text that needs to be broken up, dissected, and decided on where I'm going to basically place the themes from each part of it, if I'm going to be alluding to it at certain points, or how that's going to go forward. But at the very least, the gist of the things that I want to have happen with the scenario are here, all in one big kind of spoiler thing. And that's pretty good. But yeah, that's it. That's the stream. I'm done.